Hey, welcome guys. Today we are going to build up Tamiya's brand new German 5 cm anti-tank gun, aka the Pak38. So we're going to start here on the gun mount, and we're basically going to go steps 1 through, I think it's like 17 or 18, and basically go all the way through. We're going to get this pack built all the way up. We're going to build the figures, build the accessories. If you watched my review, I am pretty busy at the moment. In the next couple of weeks, I will not be at home. So I'm trying to get the build out, but my original intention or overall intention, whatever, is to get a small diorama built, paint the figures, obviously everything like that. So look for that in the coming weeks, although, again, could be a little bit delayed even by the time that this releases. But again, we're going to do the full build. We're going to review kind of how it builds up, pros and cons, everything like that, and talk about just the kit in general and kind of maybe any hangups we have, that sort of thing. So after the gun mount, we have it assembled. We're going to start working here on the cradle. And you see there are quite a few small pieces. This is compared to the Pak 40, which is obviously far older than this being brand new. There's like 7 or 8 steps in the Pak 40, and there's half to a third as many pieces somewhere in there. The instructions are old. Obviously, this is like a total refresh basically of the Pak 40. I know they're different, although they're incredibly similar. Even if you look at them together, I will say looking at the old Pak 40 I built still holds up, although this one just builds like a modern day Tamiya charm. As you see here, parts are keyed in so you can't put them on backwards, that sort of thing. Everything on this is workable, which is amazing, including the cradle is going to be able to rotate up and down on the gun mount here. We just have to get it assembled correctly. And then the instructions for this kit are absolutely outstanding. They are the best Tamiya instructions, even better than their, trying to think, their most recent release would have been the Jackson and like the H39 before that, and at least in terms of armor. These continue to be an improvement on their instructions, having 4 and 5 different pictures of different angles for some of these really small pieces. So that's amazing. They have no shortage of telling you what pieces to attach first, that sort of thing, which I know is more typical of their, and really of any instructions. But then, like you see here, these small parts, because there's a lot of them, they just fall into place. This is, as far as the kit goes, we'll get to the figures, but as far as the kit goes, this is as good as we could have assumed it would be or hoped that it would be. There's 1 or 2 oversights, but we will talk about those kind of at the end of this video, as timing will be a little bit more appropriate. So now we have a couple pieces to glue onto the gun shield. And then this is one of the probably standout parts of engineering on this kit, is the small arms that are going to attach the cradle and the gun mount to the gun shield are just keyed in absolutely perfectly. And nothing, if you watch my videos, you've heard me talk about Tamiya glue, working with Tamiya plastic, and or not working with some other manufacturers' plastics. It just works so well with their plastic. It's obviously, from the same, mind of, hey, we're going to make the plastic this way, let's make our glue this way. It works so well and so quick, and these parts are keyed in so perfectly that I am not taking a break here. Obviously, I'm snipping the parts and, sanding them and things, but as you see in multiple shots, I get everything for 1 or 2 steps snipped off the sprues, cleaned up, and then I just assemble. I'm not rushing, but I'm also not really taking a break to let things dry. And you see those little fragile parts just keyed right into the gun shield, and there was absolutely no problem. It is just amazing. probably the most outstanding part of this kit from an engineering and fit perspective and everything. Anyways, moving on to the axle. This again, the fit on the whole kit is very, very nice. And as we attach a lot of these small parts here, if things don't fall into place, you're probably putting them in the wrong spot if you're building this kit. So it can get a tiny bit confusing, even though the directions are amazing. I think they had to be amazing because there's so many small parts and so many things going on. But you'll know if pieces don't fall into place that probably not right. So now when we attach the axle to kind of everything else, we'll get just the back of this piece glued in. And obviously the main piece that is keeping the axle and the gun kind of attached together is not glued. So that will be workable. So if you're looking to pose it in a diorama, turn it, that sort of thing, that's a really, really nice feature. I typically like to not have things workable. Things get scratched and whatnot, but I've kept it all workable so far and haven't had any problems. So now we'll get the gun breech, which is a couple small pieces here. We'll get this assembled, and then we will start working on the gun itself. So as you can see, again, a lot of small pieces. Everything fits together. I wouldn't label this as a beginner kit necessarily. The fit is of a beginner kit, but the construction and everything like that is definitely more advanced, at least as far as like a Tamiya kit goes. But it is definitely evident that Tamiya is moving away from, and slightly unfair to say it, but because those kits came out in the 70s, the kind of quote-unquote beginner kits, the perfect first kit. This is far from that. This is an incredibly well-engineered kit, incredibly, at least in a lot of places, a really deep, detailed, just full kit. Even though it's like a half kit, it's not a tank or anything. There's just a ton going on here. And of course, if you watch the review, we do have a one-piece gun barrel there. As you saw, the muzzle brake was in two, and that goes together with really minimal, if not really any sanding is needed, aside from the small seam line that runs down the gun. And the legs of this gun are also one piece, which is different from the Pak40, which makes it really, really nice. And now we can just slide this gun in, no glue required, which is amazing. All right, so now we are working on the second piece of the gun shield. I guess kind of the outer piece. There's one piece to glue on in there, and then we have a workable piece that we're going to put on the inside. This does not get glued. This is kind of one of those pieces that I will glue this all kind of in place if the paint, which I think it already maybe has, if the paint doesn't kind of do it for us, just because pieces will get stuck and maybe scratched up and things. But as you can see right now, it's totally posable, and that piece kind of moves up and down as the gun moves, which is really, really amazing. So we'll carefully get that glued in. Again, we don't want to mess up any of the workable parts just yet, as we might need them to kind of move for it's a couple things that we need to paint on the inside, although not really much. And so if you have built the Pak40, if you remember it, I had to look up the directions and kind of look at the kit to remember, but the legs on that were two pieces, which obviously gave us a mean seam line, where these, yes, they have a seam line, but they are, I believe, slide molded. And so they're just one solid piece, just like the gun barrel would be, which is really, really nice. in order to attach these and make them workable, I like to glue in that small piece. If you saw it a second ago, I'm going to show it again. I just get it glued for a second before I kind of attach it and then clamp it. This little piece here. This is the only part of this kit that is like truly like fiddly. And it's like a Tamiya fiddly. It's not really that bad. But it took me a couple attempts and it kind of fell apart a couple times. As you see here, falling out of place. And just have to kind of keep clamping that. The first one went on definitely a lot easier, but again, a little bit fiddly there. Something to kind of watch out for and make sure you're dry fitting and you got things in the right place and everything. Then we will add on the lower part of the shield here. And we'll start working on our wheels as well as get that shield finished up. The wheels here are actually just like the Pak 40. I guess they've probably just been maybe touched up. The way that the three different kind of treads, if you will, of tire just slot right into place is honestly, it just feels great. And it works really, really well. Unlike other road wheels, there's no seam running down the middle. There are obviously your sprue gates and things, but I actually sanded these separately because I didn't want to take away from those two seams running down the wheels, which is really, really nice. It's definitely a very, very detailed wheel for what is kind of a basic wheel. They did a really, really good job just kind of modernizing it, if you will. And again, as you see there, we get poly caps, which I just love. I'm over kits not having poly caps. I know they have link and link tracks, and we don't want them to move, but it makes painting and everything a lot easier. But that's a topic for another day. As you see here, in my review, I wasn't sure what we were going to do, why there were two shovels. Tamiya, of course, thought ahead. Apparently, there's a shovel on the inside of the shield. I don't know if this was different than the Pak 40 in real life, I'll say. On the Tamiya kit, the Pak 40 only comes with a shovel on the outside. So maybe they, check their... Someone can put that in the comments if they know. But they definitely checked their history on that one and were able to find that there would have been a shovel on the inside, which won't really be visible at all, but it's there. And then we'll get that lower shield, as you saw. Fits really well, but not perfectly well. You definitely need to be there to adjust it, I'll say, and just make sure it dries correctly. But once it's on, it obviously fits very, very well. A couple pieces here that we're going to attach to the legs. And there's a lot of directional pieces here. The good news is they won't fit in the incorrect position. I guess the legs of the gun itself could have fit in different positions, but they have a really nifty way of labeling one left and one right. And then you can snip off the left and right tag and sand it after. And then finally, a couple very small pieces that we're just going to get put into place here. And we'll start building our accessories and our figures. So as far as accessories go, we get multiple different pieces of ammunition. So we have armor-piercing shells. We also have howitzer shells. And then we have like empty casings. There's the gun in its completed state. And we also have the spare wheel, like the auxiliary wheel, which has a couple pieces that are going to attach to it. This would be obviously on the gun itself if it was being towed. It's part of like the bar that keeps the legs together. And then obviously when it's deployed and firing, this would have been removed and just placed somewhere by the side. Not an expert on where they would have placed it, but it just says place it somewhere, in your little diorama. The sprue gates on these boxes were really, really well done, but I still had a little gap, as you saw there. Had to end up filling that a little bit, but it's not the end of the world. The ammunition boxes themselves are really, really nice, except for that one connection point just didn't work 4 times for me. So I definitely will always chalk it up to user error, but 4 times, usually I'd get it right maybe the 4th time. So just wondering if maybe that's like a slight issue there, but nothing that a little bit of putty and sanding can't take care of. Here you see our gun in its fully workable state, which is really, really nice. And then we have our figures, which I will not bore you with the construction of every single figure, but I will show you the construction of one. And again, Tamiya glue with Tamiya plastic is a winning combination, and Tamiya's figures just continue to be absolutely amazing. The way that these figures' arms are, keyed in with just the right groove that you cannot put it even a millimeter off of exactly what it needs to be is amazing. All of these figures stand, which is great. A lot of them are kneeling and things, so probably pretty easy for them to do. But the ammunition case, for lack of better, I guess that's what it was called, just falls right into their hands. That's all perfect. The guy sits, whoever's sighting the gun perfectly. Really, really well done. As I've said, the issue that I found with the figures in doing the review is that there are no decals or decals. Now, these are the same, like if you look at the box art, aside from the insignia on the arm, it's the same things that they've already done with like the MG team and some other German figures. So kind of curious, they could have just used the same decal sheet, put it in here. Maybe there's a reason why. I don't know. If you do know, please let me know in the comments, as well as let anyone else that is curious know. But here you have it. This is our assembled and fully built Pak38 with its 4 figures. So, if you made it this far, I'd obviously thank you for watching up to this point. If you haven't already, I'd please ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. We'll be doing obviously many more model builds. We will be finishing up this, as well as doing plenty of other armor and aircraft along the way. For this and kind of the next video, I'm going to be using spray paint, so trying to take the kind of quicker and easy way out. Again, I just have a lot of projects going on, more than I would like. This kind of typically happens when Tamiya releases a new kit, and then I get really excited to build that, which is obviously this, and other things get thrown to the side. So we doing that. I am going to try airbrushing the figures, which I actually never do. I usually hand brush them, but having 4 of them together, I think that's probably a good opportunity to try some shading and things with the airbrush. In terms of this kit, the gun itself is amazing. There's nothing bad at all to say about the way that the gun fits together, is engineered, it's thoughtfully done. It's also done in such an amazing way that it's not a beginner kit. It's also not, you're not going to pull your hair out. I built it in an afternoon, which I think is an appropriately long time. Like a couple hours is what it's going to take you to sand and glue. It's not something you're going to build in 20 minutes, maybe like the Pak40, which I don't know. I think they just nailed it there. The figures also just standouts. They're amazing. The way they fit together. like I've said, my issue with them would be the decals, and it's like, did they just miss on that? I don't know. It would really, we do have them printed so well that we can hand paint some of that insignia and the shoulder straps, but I'm not the steadiest of hands, so I'll probably struggle with that. The decals typically just make amazing figures, in my opinion, and kind of make them stand out. But this will definitely be an amazing addition to Tamiya's lineup. It was a surprise kit, I guess, like a month or two ago at this point when it got released. And it's definitely one you're going to see a lot of different dioramas that include this. In the kind of last page of the instructions, like if you make the towable version, it's meant to go with their Hanamag half track, which, as I mentioned in the review, other people have said maybe we're going to get a refresh of that. I personally don't think we will, because it's got to be one of Tamiya's top 3 best-selling kits ever, just because of the length of time it's been out too, and it's a great kit. But curious if there's a way that we could mount it inside of that, something like that. I'm wondering if we're going to get something down the line where this does kind of come into play. So we'll obviously have to wait and see on that. But again, I appreciate you guys watching. We'll get this painted up and kind of get everything glued into place in the next couple weeks here. Let me know what you think in the comments of the kit, if you're excited for it, anything like that, and we will see you on the next video.